So today's talk is very interesting, so you can see the title on the board. What is a guru and our spiritual lineage? So in the modern world there are many types of leaders, there are many types of influential people, and as the Gita explains, that whoever is in a leadership position, whoever has influence, whoever has fame, then they actually determine in many ways the world. Because as we learned does anyone remember the first lecture that I gave? I mean, you probably remember all of them, but hopefully at least you remember the title of the first one.
Communication?
No, that was in the middle, but there was the very first one. The ABCD, you remember ABCD?
Association.
Yeah. So association is everything. So that particular lecture, we learned how association is so important, but more powerful even than general association is leadership, because they have the most wide scope of association, right? The more people you know, the more people know you, the more you can influence them. Even if you're negative, sometimes they say bad, there's no publicity such as bad publicity, right? Has anyone heard that before? Yeah. So it's a very famous saying. So many famous people, even if they get bad publicity, actually the mic is not on this mic, it's on the other mic, the small mic. My mic. Otherwise there will be no sound. So there's a saying that no publicity is bad publicity. So actually, you influence people regardless of if you're a famous celebrity for doing bad things, whether you're a famous politician, everyone has power and influence. So actually this concept of power is, what is this power called in Sanskrit? Anyone know? There are different names, so you can try some of them, yeah?
Virya.
Virya, very good. So Virya actually is the most accurate translation, or precise, so very good, Shami. But I'm looking for another one. But you may all have right answers, but there's one particular one I'm looking for, yeah. Shakti, yeah, Shakti. Any other words for power?
No.
Tejas, very nice. Balam. So many words, but particularly Shakti is important, because Shakti is what we call in Sanskrit the Antaranga, the internal limb of the Lord. And Shakti means Shakti, Karana Vishesha. It means the power, the potential in a cause which can bring about an effect. So Shakti literally means energy, potency literally means that you are you, but you have a potential within you to make a change in the world, right? That's literally what Shakti means. That Karana Vishesh, it makes a specific or an intentional or a visible or a manifest change in the world. That's what Shakti literally means. And that's what energy means also, right? Energy means the ability to bring about change. So there are many great, big leaders in this world, but as we saw in this video, even such a famous president of the most popular country to be in the news, even we can laugh at him. So what kind of leadership do you have in the material world? And even people we think, oh, this one is nice, this one is bad, they're all actually bad. Sometimes we say, Prabhu, you should be left-wing, you should be right-wing, you know. Joe Biden is the best. Donald Trump is the best. I could say about Sweden, but I have no idea about Swedish politicians. Can anyone say some famous names? Anyone remember? Yeah. So Ulf Kristersson, yeah, Ulf Kristersson. So there are many famous politicians. So sometimes even devotees we become influenced. Oh, you should believe in this one. No, you should believe in that one. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that Dvaite Badra Baddhagyan Sakali Mano Dharma. That Dvaite, the duality of something is auspicious, something is inauspicious, is just the mental speculation in the material world. And A Bhalo, A Brahma, no, A Bhalo, A Manda, A Sa Brahma, that this one is good, this one is bad, this is all false actually. Because whether you have one variety of materialism or another variety of materialism is all still under the sphere that I am the controller and I am the enjoyer of this world. So the main disease is not a political orientation, is not a particular gender theory, is not a particular social concept, is not a particular technological opinion, is not a particular preference. Is it homeopathic? Is it allopathic? Actually, in the spiritual realm, none of these things are ultimately important. So therefore, it's all relating to the mind, but we are looking to go deeper, to relate to the soul. Solutions which relate to the mind can be only temporary by nature, because the mind always changes, right? What we like changes. Does anyone like potatoes? So I went to Peru for 2 weeks. I think only Ramai knows this story, yeah? Maybe. And ISKCON is very poor in South America. Probably the poorest continent for ISKCON. Because even Africa is actually quite rich, because so many Gujaratis sponsoring. And India, although it's a very poor country, maybe the biggest amount of homeless people in the world is on the streets of India, but it's also an extremely rich country. It's just that the government and the economic setup makes it very extreme. South America, you may not see, almost you never see homeless people on the street, but everyone in general just earns very, very little, like $100, 100 euros a month. But you know, many things, the price doesn't change. The price of food doesn't change so much. The price of clothes, etc. So ISKCON is very poor there. So what they did is they don't have much money, so they invited us, but they spent so much on our tickets that they only had just simple boga. So every day it was just rice and potatoes, every day for 2 weeks, literally. The breakfast was rice, potato, lunch was rice and potato with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then the evening was potato soup. So after 2 weeks, I said I had enough. For about 5 years, I didn't like potatoes. So this is the nature of the material world. What we like, what we dislike is always coming and going, coming and changing. So any material leader actually in this world is still not very helpful for our cultivation of spiritual life. So even someone like Obama, they're also just a funny person, nothing special about them, even though many people think. Of course, when we are on, as we already said, they have Vyavaharik Vichar and Paramarthik Vichar. Anyone remember those two words? Especially from the young ones, anyone remember? From the non-scholars? Somebody remembers? So it was two levels of reality, right? You remember the example of the government paper, your name, your address, your gender, your religion, etc. So does anyone remember that example? Somebody, do any of you remember? Yeah?
It was like, you said that if we have a government paper and then they ask for like our name or something, and then we mention like the soul, and that this is not my actual name, but I'm the soul and not the body, it doesn't really like fit in the moment because that's just a government paper.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to know when to talk about spirituality.
Very nice, perfect. So yeah, so Vyavaharik Vichara means daily. Vichara means consideration. So consideration means you discriminate between what should I do at a certain time. So Vyavaharik Vichara means in basic social intercourse, like family, like how do I deal with my parents. If your parent is telling you something and it's against spiritual knowledge, it's not, advised to really attack them and go crazy on them. You just tolerate and say, okay, mom, thank you. And then you still do whatever you need to do spiritually. Because the relationship between the child and the parent should be of respect. So we should not break the etiquette so much, right? So that's why sometimes people who join the movement, then they fry out their family because they don't know, they conflate or they mix up, okay, I'm completely spiritual, therefore I have to convert my whole family tomorrow. And if not, then I'll fight with them and then we'll not like each other anymore. So there's called Vyavaharik Vichar, means basic social interactions, parents and children, friends, senior in the company, junior in a company, subject in the, country and the government in the country, etc. And then you have Paramarthik, which means the spiritual platform. So we don't always reveal, or we do not have to always act only on the spiritual platform, because we still have a material body and we still have some level of identification with the body. The only one who acts completely on the Paramarthik platform is what we call topmost devotee, which is called Uttama. Uttama means topmost. Or especially a renunciant who's on the topmost platform, like a Babaji. Who was the one who was walking on, there's a few, but who was the one who was streaking, Vedic streaking in the Bhagavatam? Streaking means walking around naked. Can anyone remember? There's a few people in the Bhagavatam. Yeah. Rishabdev used to, then there's a few more. One of them was a brahmachari, and they were not agitated by him, but when they saw Vyasadeva, they became agitated. Yeah, Shukadev Goswami. So these are people who have completely renounced the social interaction. But if you are not a Babaji, if you're not a very high-level sannyasi or renunciant, then you must act on both platforms. So it's not that we're saying devotee cannot talk about any of these material things. We can, but we have to understand, ultimately it's all a joke actually, ultimately. But for dealing in this material world, then we take it seriously for a short time. But any of these famous politicians, leaders in the material world, ultimately if they do not know what is the goal of life, anything they say is kind of, we don't have to take them too seriously. But still, we have to interact, especially if we have a job, especially if we're a grihastha, we have to know both of these platforms. Otherwise, we'll act very fanatically and we'll confuse many people and give a bad impression. So next slide is very interesting. Some of you may have seen it already. So we have some very special people. So does anyone know on the left who is this very special person? Katy Perry, right? And then in the middle, anyone know? Yeah. And then on the far right, Will Smith. So these are very famous people, right? So what is Katy Perry famous for? Can anyone say? Yeah?
For her cool music videos and for her singing. Like
Yeah.
she has very unique music videos.
Yeah, she's a good musician, right? In the world of pop. And then Justin Bieber. Yeah?
He's also a musician.
Uh, He's a very famous musician, right? Yeah? You?
But he was famous also for being like handsome.
Yeah, he's a very gorgeous man, very gorgeous. What do you think, Ramai? Very handsome, eh? So now, obviously now he looks a bit, he used to look even better before, now he's already getting older slowly. Soon he will have grey hair. But for a short time we have a nice voice, we have nice looks, right? And then the one on the far right, what's he famous for? Someone else, you guys know everybody. You're very clever, yeah, okay.
He was a rapper, musician, turned actor.
Oh, very good. So yeah, these three people, they're very famous. So actually Katy Perry was married to one ex-devotee, he was called Russell Brand before. But that's her ex-husband and he's also ex-devotee now. But she actually is connected to devotees, she's been in Kirtan, she's been to actually temples. I think she went to Chowpatty, right? Somebody knows? And then Justin Bieber, he was personally taking, at some point, I don't know now because I'm not up to date, but at one point he was taking mentorship from Radhana Swami and Ganesham Priyadas or Jay Shetty. Did anyone know that? Yeah, he's very good friends with few devotees. Some of my relatives, they personally met him actually. And Katy Perry we didn't meet, but her ex-husband used to come to our temple in London many times, Russell Brand. He's a British celebrity. I don't think in Sweden he's so famous. But. And then Will Smith, all of you know, he's very interested in Bhagavad Gita. And he's very interested in Kirtan. Actually, my sister went, I think at least once or twice, to Hollywood she met Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, Willow Smith, all of them. And even many famous speakers like Ricky Gervais, anybody heard of him? He's an atheist, but he used to go for Kirtan with Janavi Harrison. And Selena Gomez, I think that's the ex-girlfriend of Justin Bieber, right? So I don't know much about her. She's a singer, I think, no? Or actor. Selena Gomez, I forget all the names. My sister was there, so I never got to meet them, unfortunately. But all of these people, they're connected to actually Krishna consciousness in some way or the other. But still, there are many people in the world famous for singing, right? What do you think? Many. You can give me 100 names. There are many people famous for acting in this world, right? What do you think, Arvind? Yeah? There are many people who are famous politicians, right? So there are many people who are famous for activism. There's one very famous girl from Sweden, she went to Palestine on the flotilla. So there are many people who are famous for defending against racism. Like, can anyone name any, especially in America? Sweden, not very racist country, but America was. So, anyone know? Martin Luther King, yeah, so different ones. There are many people who are famous. What else can you be famous for in this world? For being strong. There's one boy, he's called D. Svensson. He's very famous in Stockholm for boxing. Anyone know D. Svensson? Nobody knows? Any relative of these friends? Oh yeah, we have one relative here of the very famous boxer. And then you can also be famous for good looks. Can anyone name any famous Swedish supermodel? Sorry? Anybody? Yeah, see? Mini Grosso, you see? So even I met in our yoga studio in Miami, 2 of the ladies who won Miss Venezuela, they start coming to our programs now. They're very, very famous people. So you can be famous for many things in this world, but in this world, who is famous for being happy? Can anyone say? Hare Krishna movement. But just in a general way, like not famous for us because we're a very big minority, maybe 1 million people only in ISKCON, or Gaudiya Mad and ISKCON. So apart from us, who were basically negligible section of the population, in the general world, of how many are we? 7 or 8 billion now? 7, huh? How much?
We're close to 10 million.
Already nearly 10. My God. So it's exploding, yeah? So in the general world of many billions of people, is there a consensus of somebody famous for being happy in this world? Hippies still don't even exist anymore. Yeah, now it's just like an old memory for people who are 50 plus. But sometimes the answer they give is Jesus or Buddha, right? Or in India they may say Krishna. So actually spiritual people are the only people who are famous for being happy. So there are many things we chase in this world, and if you look at all of the people who have those in the maximum quantity, just like many people say, wow, Katy Perry has the best voice in the world. Even though every song they use auto-tune, but anyway, so they say the best voice in the world. They'll say Will Smith is the greatest actor in the world. They'll say this politician was the greatest leader in the world. So even if you're the greatest in one category, still nobody of those people, they're also famous for being happy, right? None of you guys said, oh, Katy Perry is famous for being happy. Justin Bieber is famous for being happy. Will Smith is famous for being happy. Because they're not happy. They're actually, many of them are more depressed even than us. So this is the point. So therefore, we're coming now deeper into the topic, that what is life about? So life is not simply about trying to become expert in material skills, material achievements, because it doesn't make anybody happy. If it did, we would have found an example, but we didn't. So therefore, the human life is meant to inquire into what is the goal of spiritual life. What is a goal in life, which is to start your spiritual life, the goal of the human form of life. So, has anyone seen this aphorism before? So our philosophical tradition, this is the verse 1.1.1 of our tradition, Vedanta tradition. And the Vedanta commentary is, does anyone know what is a commentary on Vedanta from the youth? Anyone who knows? It's the text which we study the most. Srimad Bhagavatam, yes. Because sutra means codes, it means just short form, but then if you're not the teacher, the short form is not helpful, right? Just like if you give a lecture and you're not so, experienced in the subject matter, you have to write notes. But you cannot write the whole lecture out and then take 500 sheets with you, right? But you put the bullet points, the very short notes. So the Vedanta Sutra is the short notes of which later became Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we will continue. So does anyone know who this is? Don't worry, I'm just kidding. Even I wouldn't have known until I Googled the image. So who would like to read this? Somebody like? Yeah, please read.
The saintly king
Khatvanga,
after being informed that the duration for his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of the supreme safety, the supreme personality of God.
Thank you. So he was a great king. He's actually not so discussed in detail. He's kind of famous. He's in the Bhagavatam, but this king, because there were so many kings, but he actually was very special, just like Parikshit Maharaj. So he also knew. And I was just reminded, I forgot, because it says only a moment more, but the word used in the Bhagavatam is muhurta. So anyone remember what is a muhurta? Anybody remember? 48 minutes, right? So how many of those make a day? If anyone's good at maths. Anyone doing further maths? So if I'm not wrong, I might be wrong, you can check in the calculator. I think it's about 30 muhurtas in one day. Maybe someone knows and they can nod from the seniors. So you can check in the calculator. But roughly, I think there's about 30. So generally we say 24 hours a day, but in Vedic conception, time is 1 hour. What is the number?
Let's see, for 12 hours, that's 48.
So 48. So there's quite a lot. 48 in one day.
No, that's 48.
What is no, it shouldn't be 96 muhurtas in a day. There's 24 hours of 60 minutes. So what is 48 times what makes the same time as one day? 30. So it is 30, okay. So he only took half a muhurta, so it took 24 minutes to become a pure devotee. He was already a devotee, but fully mature up to the point of becoming free from material desire. Took him only 24 minutes when he got this news, even though he was a great king. So once Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in India, and Prabhupada put him in charge of the GBC of India. I think he only lasted 2 years. Does anyone remember? Especially very senior devotees may remember. I think he took 2 years. Then he said, I can't do India GBC anymore. And then I heard in a lecture there was another devotee. I forget the names, but anyway. One only lasted 2 days. So very difficult to be GBC in India. And then one lasted 2 weeks. So anyway, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was 2 years GBC in India. He says, Prabhupada, I'm trying to chant my rounds, but he says, all I can hear is just the legal codes because they're building the temple for, Prabhupada wanted to establish Bombay, Mayapur and Vrindavan. So they were very, very busy in establishing these 3 temples, which are now extremely, extremely successful, with millions of people coming every single year. So he said, when I chant my rounds, I'm thinking about that more than actually Krishna when I'm chanting. So he says, what can I do? I think I should renounce this service. Then he says, I can quote the Bombay Municipal Code better than I can quote the scriptures. So he said, it's very, very difficult. So when you're a manager, many of you who are in the board, you may know, just to manage a smaller temple, because it's not like you have to manage Bombay or Vrindavan temple. Almvik is relatively smaller. You're only dealing with, hundreds of people at a time. But still, it's so much work, unlimited work. His Grace Lokanath Prabhu, working non-stop outside. I was there yesterday. He was in the full outfit and he was trying to fix the heating machine. And then those who are accountants, those who are cooks, those who are head pujaris, unlimited headache, right? Can anyone nod who's in the management? So imagine, one temple we have to manage, but he was managing millions and millions of people and so many cities, Maharaj Katwanga. But still, within 24 minutes, he became pure. So he's a very powerful personality. Then can anyone read this? Yeah.
A fully responsible man should always be conscious of the prime duty of the present human form of life. The activities to meet the immediate necessities of material life are not everything.
So this is very important. This is in the purport. So Prabhupada is writing that everyone, man, woman, child, everybody, they should be very conscious what is the duty of life at all times. Just like, does anyone have diabetes? Like bad diabetes? So I have a friend, he's called Vayudas, and he has diabetes. So they have this, I don't know what it's called, attachment, which measures your blood sugar. So his whole life, he can never be free. He always has to be thinking about his blood sugar. And any time it can go beep, 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 then he has to deal with the situation. So when your blood sugar gets too low, you can faint, you can pass out, and you can ultimately even pass away. So you have to be very careful. You have to be always conscious of your blood level. So in the same way, a spiritual person should always be conscious that everything I'm doing should be connected to my prime duty of life, so I'm not putting myself in danger from losing my goal. Therefore, who wants to read this last one? Yeah.
One should always be alert of his duty for attainment of the best situation in the next life. Human life is meant for preparing ourselves for that prime duty.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'll read the last one. Maharaj Katwanga, being very much alert to his prime duty, inquired from the demigods about his remaining duration of life. So only 24 minutes. How long did Arjuna take to hear Bhagavad Gita? Anyone know?
45 minutes.
Yeah, it's one muhurta he took, right? So how many times have we heard? At least I can say myself, whole life I still don't understand properly. Just I understand very small few grains of sand of the Gita. So those who have practiced more than 40 years, what do you think? Is it easy to understand in 48 minutes? The Gita? It's not easy, right? Can anyone say who's practicing more than 40 years, I have fully realized the Gita now? Can anybody say? Some of you are humble, probably you have, but generally it's not easy, right? So therefore, what do we need to help us to understand this knowledge? We need a guru, right? So who likes to read this Sanskrit verse? Anybody? Someone who hasn't read anything yet? Especially from the youth? Okay, yeah?
Ishvara Parma Krishna Nanda Vigraha Anadir Adi Govinda Sarva Karna Karma.
Fantastic. So now we're understanding that the highest thing in reality is consciousness, because consciousness is superior to matter, right? Does everyone agree? But superior to that is the source of all consciousness, or the cause of all causes, which is described, Sarva Karana Karana, the original conscious being who gives expansion to all other conscious beings, who is the fountainhead, who is the original flame which lights all of the other flames. So the first thing we have to know in spiritual life is about God Himself, right? The cause of all causes. So Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. So we also share in the nature of God. We partake in the nature of God. So we automatically will become eternal and blissful when we take a spiritual body. Just like many people, they want to be very famous, but they only last for a few years, right? Some of the shortest lived celebrities are sports stars, isn't it? How many people can run for 30 years at the same speed? It's not easy, right? Even many boxers, many models, they only can be famous for a short amount of time because the potency of the material body deteriorates very quickly. But in the spiritual world, our bodies are eternal. And even if you can keep it your whole life, it doesn't mean it will make you happy, right? But when you have a spiritual body, then you're eternal, but you're also blissful at all times, ever-expanding bliss. And Krishna is the origin of all, and He has no other origin because He's the prime cause of all causes. So Krishna is very important to understand, and then who is another person very important to understand? Can anybody say? Another supreme personality, because not Jiva, but another in the spiritual reality. Somebody said, I think. Was it Lilaran you said? Somebody said there. Can anyone say? Yeah, who said it? Few of you, yeah? So Srimati Radharani is very important because she is the supreme compassionate. She is actually the manifestation of the love and the compassion of Krishna. And Radharani is Shakti, right? So what does Shakti mean? We defined it very clearly in the beginning. Yeah? Power, yeah. But we gave a more technical definition, if maybe you remember. Yeah? Strength, yeah. Shakti means the potential inner cause which can bring about a specific change. So Radharani is the potential in Krishna who can bring about a change in others. Isn't it? We just have to put that definition and then connect it to Radharani. So she is that potential inner cause. Krishna, we already heard, is a cause of all causes, right? Very simple. Sarva Karana Karanam. And the potential inner cause which can bring about a specific or a very beneficial change. So that can only be afforded by Krishna's Shakti, which is Srimati Radharani. That is why Krishna is one, but He never changes, because Krishna have different aspects. So through Radharani and through Durga in the material world, He executes change. That's why this material world is always changing, right? So Srimati Radharani is the supreme compassionate. So what does compassion mean? Can anyone say in Latin etymology? I think Keshav Maharaj said it here some time ago. So com means with, right? Like how you say cum placere in Romanian? Or cu, I think it's ku in Romanian, no? How do you say like with pleasure? Or like you're welcome?
No idea.
I think it's cu placere or cum placere. In Italian con, I think placere or piacere. In Spanish con placer. So com means with, and passion means originally it used to mean to suffer. So it means you have the ability to actually feel with the other person. You have the ability to understand how they're feeling and then elevate them through that. So in other words, you're very relatable, isn't it? So compassion means you know how to relate to people. So Srimati Radharani understands everyone because she, with Krishna, is actually inside of our heart. Krishna is in our heart as Paramatma, but Krishna and Radharani are two sides of the same reality, right? Two aspects. So she, in that sense, actually is inside of our heart. So she knows what we're thinking and feeling. So she knows how to actually relieve us from our suffering. So on a practical level, how should we relate to Krishna? Because Krishna is very far away from us in our material purview, right? How many of us can see the deity and realize Krishna is there directly? It's not easy, right? That's what the devotee is supposed to do. They're supposed to see the deity and directly see Krishna. But how many of us can do it? So on a practical level, it's not easy to relate to Krishna, right? What do you think? Is it easy? It's not very easy, right? How many of us, we know more leelas of ourselves than we know leelas of Krishna? Isn't it? So we have to actually become very expert that we're more interested in reciting Krishna Leela than my feeling, my pastimes, my name, my form, right? We're more interested in that. So how many people, they can easily relate to Krishna? It's not very easy, right? Therefore, one famous philosopher says, it's not enough if God simply exists somewhere, isn't it? Somewhere in Goloka Vrindavan having a good dance, right? It's not enough, because even if Krishna is there, there has to be some way we can know about him and some way we can personally meet him, right? What do you think? Is it enough Krishna is there and then nothing, we just live here in ignorance and then we die? What do you guys think? So therefore, it's very important also how God is accessible. Extremely important, right? Because if it doesn't matter so much if God exists, what matters more is if God is accessible to us. If he's not accessible, then anyway we can't make any change. What is the potential in a cause which can bring about a change? There cannot be any change if there's no accessibility of God. So therefore we have to understand what things we can understand directly and what things we cannot understand directly. Directly means through the five senses. So can Arvind please stand up and please point to one of your senses? Fantastic. So you can please sit down. So now Malati, please can you stand up? So please point to one of your senses. Which one? Your tongue. Okay, very good. Okay, Leelarani, please stand up. Don't worry, exercise is very good. It's good, no problem. So we already seen the eyes and the tongue. So seeing, tasting, and then which is one more? Hearing. Okay, fantastic. And then Shami, please stand up. So you only have two options left. So hopefully you can find one more. Touching, right? Yeah, so now the last one, who would like to do? Maybe Uddhava at the very back. So which is the last one? Smelling, right? So we can only directly understand and see things which we can experience through our senses, right? Otherwise we cannot understand very, very subtle things, very spiritual things directly. Just like we can see the deity, but directly when we look, if we're a general material being, then we do not understand what is the deity. So that's why it's very important, spiritual knowledge, right? So therefore, empirical things, they come through the process of what is called controlled experiment. If you want to see how to make water, then what is the chemical formula of water? Hopefully some of you know about chemistry. Many of you are still studying. Only if you're in school, raise your hand. All of you raise your hand. Those who are in school who know what is the chemical formula for water. So, okay, you tell me. H2O, right? So you have to have control of 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen, right? And then when you can control these elements, you can create water. So that is the nature of what we call the modern scientific paradigm, that things work under a controlled experiment. Things you can test, things which you make a hypothesis, then you make a test, then you make a conclusion. So you can only study things which you can perceive, right? So you can control them within your mind also, because it's not only physical control, but it's also mental control. Just like mathematics or logic, there's also part of our mental faculty. It's not that science only accepts visible things, it can also accept things which you understand through maths, right? Have the scientists seen many big things far away in the universe? Not easily, right? But so you have induction and deduction. So these are the two techniques which you can use to try to understand things in this world. But the problem is, there is one big problem with this process. That there's one thing which you cannot do. It's very simple. There's one thing which is called controlled experiment. So what is the opposite of a controlled experiment? Yeah, something you study something which we do not have control over, which we cannot control either physically or study physically. We can put it under a test tube, we can weigh it, we can smell it, we can see it, we can hear it. And also in our mind we cannot control, simply with logic, mathematics, etc. So that is called concepts which are beyond concepts which are beyond controlled experiments. So what are those? Something called T. Can anyone say? It's there in front of you, so. But he knows all the answers. So anyone else? You guys always know the answers as well, you know. Anybody else? A new one? Maybe our boys from Germany, they're very shy today. So concepts beyond control experiment is something called T and T. Can you see anything on the board? Transcendental things. You see T and T? Yeah, so that's what it is. So transcendental things you cannot study directly through the empirical scientific method. Therefore, we must understand those through a different way. You can only understand things through the controlled experiment which are inferior to us. Inferior entities is the word which is used technically in the philosophy of science, right? You can only study inferior entities. You cannot study superior entities. So therefore, we have to understand God is only understood through. What do you think? What's the last word in that sentence? God is only understood through revelation. Any Sanskrit scholar would like to read this verse? Especially from the youth? It's a little bit harder. Yeah, Leela Rani do. Because you guys did already. Okay, you read. Okay, you read, okay. Somebody. Yeah, please read.
Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Na Medhaya Na Bhavna Shrutena Yam Evaisha Vrinute Tena Labhyas Tasyesha Atma Vrinute Taramishva.
Fantastic. So this is a summary of the verse that the Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations. So even if you're a great preacher, still you cannot understand Krishna. Just by being expert in pravachanena. Pra means forward, vacha means to speak. So it means public speaking in one sense. Or speaking to other people. So just by explaining, you cannot understand Krishna. And then not by vast intelligence, medhaya. Medhaya means great brain substance. It's still not enough, right? What do you think? If you have a big brain, can you understand Krishna? No, right? Who is one of the biggest, most famous brains in Western history? Yeah? Albert Einstein, good. Generally we always say Albert Einstein because he's very famous, very powerful. But what did Albert Einstein say? Hopefully I'm not misquoting him. I think it was him. He said that I have only simply collected a few grains of sand from the ocean or from the beach. That's his knowledge. Was it Albert Einstein who said that? Sorry?
It was Newton.
Oh, Newton, okay. So Newton also is one of the greatest scientists in the history of the modern world. So just having a great brain, you still cannot understand Krishna. Because the process is inappropriate, right? And by hearing many, many lectures is still not enough. He is only obtained by one who he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. So why cannot you understand Krishna through science? It's not because Krishna is trying to make it hard, but it's that you're using the appropriate method to understand. You're using a method to study inferior things, and with that method you're trying to understand superior things. It's like, can you study sound through a camera? Well, you can if it has a video camera. But just through a SLR camera, can you study sound? No, right? Because why is it called photography? Photo means light, and graphy means you're drawing. So it's actually reproducing things which you see through the eyes, things which are connected to light. So can you weigh sound with the weighing scale? What do you think? Anyone? It's very easy. So please let me know, somebody. Can you understand sound with the weighing scale? Yes or no? No, right? Because it's inappropriate. So in the same way, trying to understand transcendental things through a material method is unfortunately incompatible. So therefore, what is the next stage you have to understand? Then accessibility of God. What are ways He's accessible? So can anyone say there are some ways, like especially in the Bible? Yeah?
From Guru? Like to Guru?
From Guru is one, the obvious one. But there are some subtle ways. What are subtle ways that people say, oh, I think I experienced God?
Revelation.
Like revelation, prayer. What else?
Faith.
Sorry?
Some people say faith.
Faith, right? But some very like experiential things, like, oh, I experienced this and then this happened, so now I'm sure that God exists. Miracles, yes, very good. So miracles is one of them. And then another one is sometimes people say, I went to sleep and then something happened and then in the morning I got a message from God. Has anyone heard that before?
Yes.
Yeah, dreams, right? Just like Prabhupada, he had dreams from his guru instructing him to take sannyas. So actually sometimes we say God may approach us through dreams, right? And then somebody already said this with the R word. I think, yeah, revelation. So sometimes just like in the Bible, God appeared to Moses, I think, in the form of a burning bush, and then he spoke to him through a bush. Well, there is a story of Sakshi Gopal. Anybody heard of Sakshi Gopal story? So one great devotee was thinking that what was the story actually? I don't remember so clearly. The deity was walking and then what happened?
Look back.
Yeah, he looked back and then the deity stopped right there. But why was the deity walking somewhere? I think he said he wanted to build a temple somewhere. No? Does anybody remember? I forgot already.
No, he had served an old Brahmana, and as a Dakshin for serving the Brahmana, he was promised the girl in marriage. And then later, because he was very poor, that the Brahmana didn't want to give, but they had been in front of the deities when the promise was made. And then he went back and said, can you please be a witness for me in this case? And then, yeah.
So the deity was walking to be the witness.
Yeah, he was walking Shakshit Gopal. He was
Yeah.
walking to be the witness.
And then, but he said not to look back or something?
He was not supposed to look back.
Condition.
The idea was that the deity didn't want to come, but the Brahmana, or the young Brahmana said to him, but you can talk, so then you can also walk. And then he asked him to come, but he was not supposed to look back. And then when he looked back, he stayed in Yamuna, I think.
Yeah. So a very nice story. So there are many, many stories. So what about Sai Baba? Didn't he do revelation through ash in his hand? What do you think? Is it bona fide? No, right? So many of these ones, direct revelation, which is very difficult. Many of these things, they're a bit subjective, right? Like they say, oh, you said that was a miracle, but I think many things happen by chance. Scientists may say, it can happen by chance also. I don't think that's proof of God, right? Or if you have a dream and you say, well, God appeared to me in a dream. What will a very kind of logical person say, oh, you can have a dream that God told you to shoot someone. Will you do it? So it's also not very good foundation, right? And then the third one is direct revelation. That is a good foundation, but can you prove it to other people if Krishna appears to you? They may say, oh, you took LSD, that's why you saw God. They may say, right? And to get direct revelation is very difficult. To see miracles in your life is not very difficult. Even to dream about Krishna or Guru, generally most devotees, few times in their life. Like put your hand up if you had a dream with Krishna or some Guru or some great devotee like Prabhupada or someone, if you had a dream. So most of us will have 1, 2, 3 in our life. I had maybe few dreams with my Guru, few with Prabhupada. Krishna, I don't remember. Hopefully I had one. I don't know. Not enough love, but hopefully. Because we have dreams relating, to these personalities. But still, that's not the primary evidence, because they're all shaky. So then there is the one which is the most important evidence for God in this world. Can anyone say? That's where we say, this is where we draw the line, that this is proof of God. Can anyone say? Yeah?
Maybe the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, Srimad Bhagavatam. So scripture, very important. So even in the scientific method, say you say, okay, I'm going to prove to you that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So, how would you prove it? Can anyone say how you would prove it? Yeah?
Cook water to 100 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, but how do you measure it? Now it's at 100 degrees.
When it starts boiling.
But how do you know what temperature it is when it starts boiling? You need a special thing. You know. Huh? Thermometer, yeah, exactly, correct. So what about if I say to you, no, this thermometer is fake. You just got one from AliExpress. This thermometer is fake. I don't believe you. Then what can you say? What do you say if you're trying to prove it to me? I'll give you 1 million euros if you can prove it. So you give a thermometer. So you have to be really serious. I need that 1 million euros. What will you do to prove that the thermometer is real? Yeah?
I will try it out and show the person that it really works like a normal thermometer.
So you get another thermometer and measure it against another one, right?
Yeah, but like if you measure the thermometer, if you measure the water with the thermometer, then you will see that if it works or not.
But what if I say the thermometer is fake?
Oh, then I get nothing.
Lakshman?
Get the thermometer from an authorized source.
You have to get thermometer from authorized source, right? So, but how will you prove it to me? You will walk me there to the shop?
I can show a certificate.
Certificate, right? But is it possible to fake a certificate nowadays with AI? It's very easy, right? So then, okay, I say, but your certificate is fake. Then what will you do?
Then I will personally send you to that place so we can chastise you.
Yeah. And then what I will do, I will still doubt you, so I will not accept the chastisement. I will say, because you want £1 million, so you offered him that I'll give you 5% of the money if you lie to my friend that I gave a real thermometer. So then what will you do?
I will tell you to prove it.
Huh?
I will tell you to prove it. That it happened.
Yeah, but I'm the one asking you to prove it. So telling me to prove it is not proof for you. So you won't get €1 million, I will keep the €1 million. So then what will you do? Anyone? This is the last level now. Yeah?
I will get angry and tell them to touch the water themselves and see if the water is normal.
But the question was, what temperature does water boil at? So does it prove the temperature? Yeah?
Many thermometers and just trying all of them and making sure you're finding
It's not illogical or it's not impossible to say all the thermometers in the world are fake. It would be crazy to say, but if I said that, then you still have to prove that they're all real, right? So the conclusion is material arguments, which is a logical argument, that a real thermometer plus boiling hot water equals 100 degrees, right? So all you have to do to smash any material argument, you just have to reject one of the premises, right? So therefore, material argument is very difficult. So what do scientists do to stop this nonsense? Because otherwise you can doubt every single argument. Say, evolution is real because we have this evidence. And you just say, well, how do I know this is real? How do I know this is real? Then they have to keep proving. You just keep asking. You just keep questioning all of the premises of the argument. So how do scientists stop this nonsense of fighting all the time?
When an experiment is performed, it's done in a controlled environment.
But if I'm not there, I can doubt your controlled environment. I can say, you didn't lock all the doors properly, so someone snuck in and changed something.
Based on why the scientific methods prescribes that you should also be able to repeat the experiment.
So repetition is good, but still there are many things they repeated for 100 years and later it also came out wrong. So I'm looking for something much deeper philosophically. Now it's not an empirical answer, it's a philosophical answer. Shami knows, I think.
They call it an axiomatic truth.
Yes, correct, yeah. So you have to state that this is an axiomatic truth, that water, basically it's called a self-evident truth. So it's a truth that you accept as universally true and I don't need to prove it to you. So just like scientists will say, do we know there's a real world outside of our mind? Can we know? So we don't have so much time, I could explain it in depth, but the answer is no. Logically it's not possible to know there's a real world outside of our mind because we can only experience the world through our mind. Without the mind and the five senses under the mind, you cannot experience this world. Therefore, you cannot experience anything outside of the mind. So if you cannot do that, then you cannot prove the world is real outside of your mind. But scientists will say, yes, it is real, but you cannot prove it. It's impossible. Because if it didn't exist outside of our mind, then it could be a dream. Has anyone dreamed where they ran off a building and they could fly? Yes, right? It's a very common dream. So that if the real world is just in our mind, then there's no difference in reality between a dream and this world. There's zero difference. Can you have a dream where you do a H2O experiment and it comes correct?
Yes.
You can, right? So the only way that this world is real is if it's real outside our mind, but it's impossible to prove. Therefore, they say this is the self-evident truth that the world is real outside of our mind. So in the same way, the devotee says, yes, we're using this same philosophical position that scripture is self-evident, therefore it doesn't require external proof to validate it. That is our only claim to truth. We cannot say it's true because Bhagavatam matches up this in cosmology, because science always changes and we don't understand Bhagavatam cosmology properly anyway, especially in ISKCON, we still don't understand. So therefore we cannot use that as evidence. We cannot say it's true because we can go to Vrindavan, because there's not enough archaeological evidence. If they say Krishna existed, yes, so if Dwarka didn't exist, then that means Krishna didn't exist, right? That's like many people reject Islam because they say Mecca, there is no historical evidence for Mecca during the time of Muhammad, and Mecca is the most important place, so therefore it's all mythology, right? So even Dwarka, we still haven't got clear archaeological evidence. There is some here and there, but India is a very hot and humid country, so it's one of the worst places in the world for archaeological studies. So you can't, it's not enough to prove Krishna through that. The only way you can logically, consistently prove God is through scripture. That's actually the only perfect way. That's why Shastra by Lord Chaitanya is called Swatantra Pramana, that this is truth which can be proved by itself. And how do we understand scripture? Can we read Vedanta Sutra and understand? Therefore, the main evidence for God, accessibility of God, is meeting Guru. It's not miracles, it's not dreams, it's not even scripture, because there are 1 billion people who accept Bhagavad Gita, but 99% misunderstand them. Therefore, the only way to become really happy in this world, the only way to actually know God is through Guru. This is the conclusion. So therefore, in big letters. So the main way God is accessible is not through archaeology, miracles, dreams. It's not by looking for Sakshi Gopal, because we're not that special that the Lord will do it to us necessarily. We may be special. Rama for me is a very special soul. But still, the main strong evidence for God actually, and the way to access God, is through one who is a representative of God, which is the Guru. So therefore, who would like to read this? We only have a few minutes left, so please read it quickly. Who would like to read this? Okay, I'll read. Brahmanda Brahmite kono bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. So therefore, the highest thing to attain in this material world is the Guru. Because the material soul, materially conditioned soul, we've been wandering in this world for a very long time. But when we become very fortunate, when we have good fortune, then we get the opportunity to meet a Guru. And through the grace of Guru and Krishna, then we can actually perfect our human form of life by receiving this seed of bhakti, which is called the Bhakti Lata Bija. Thank you very much. So therefore, Krishna sees the Guru to be as good as himself. So we have established what is this world, why are we here in this world, how to become happy, what do we need in this world. Now we understand that we need Guru, because all other ways to access God are not perfect, they're all incomplete, but the Guru and scripture is the most important. So now Krishna establishes, but how do I know if Guru is nice or maybe doesn't know much? Krishna says, no, you have to trust me, because I am God, that the pure representative of me is as good as myself. Therefore Krishna says, one should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. Because what is the word Krishna uses? Pari something in the Gita, pari something, something, something. Pari prashnena and sevaya. So in order to understand superior things, there has to be submission. You cannot understand superior things by thinking I am superior to it, but that thing has to reveal itself to you. And superiors reveal their heart to people who they trust. They reveal their heart to people who they feel love from. So how do you prove your love for someone? Is it by taking? What do you think? How do you prove your love to someone? Yeah? By giving, right? By serving. So only by service and respect can you understand the Guru, just like to understand Krishna. And one should not envy the Guru, thinking him an ordinary man. It can be him, her, it can be they, them, because all Gurus are transcendental to the body, for he is a representative of all of the demigods. So we do not require the help of the demigods. Although in India we like demigods, you see so many demigod temples, but actually the Guru is more powerful than even the demigods. So therefore we come to who are Gurus then? Because is it just somebody you see on Instagram? What is the Guru? Do you just see Sadguru and then you start listening? So therefore there are 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas which were given at the beginning of Kali Yuga. So there are other Sampradayas. So I only learned this very recently with strong evidence from our Shastrik Advisory Committee, one devotee called Hari Parashada Prabhu. He wrote a very nice article about this verse which explains these 4 Sampradayas. And according to other Puranas, there are other Sampradayas. I was thinking, if you're not in these 4, then you're not actually part of Sanatana Dharma, but that's actually incorrect. But for Vaishnavism, these are the 4 Sampradayas. But scripture lists, according to Shiva-related text, because different Puranas for different people, so they have their Sampradaya also. So even Shakta is in the Puranas. For Shakta people, they have their Sampradaya. So that's part of Varnashram Dharma. But as we know, Varnashram Dharma in this age, the ancient Vedic social system is not very practical. So therefore, Vaishnavism supersedes Varnashram, and it actually goes to Bhagavata platform, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. So there are 4 Sampradaya heads. So who is the first one? Can anyone say? From the left. Please read it out very loudly. We're running out of time, so please, yeah?
Brahma Sampradaya.
Brahma Sampradaya. One more, please read, somebody. Yeah? Shri Sampradaya, right? And then one more. Yeah?
Rudra Sampradaya.
Rudra Sampradaya. And then the last one. Somebody read quickly. You don't have to put your hand, just read. Kumara Sampradaya, right? So it's very interesting. You have the original creator of this material universe, Brahma. Then you have the most divine goddess. She's another Sampradaya head. So she's called Shri. And then you have one of the most unique individuals, like very, what would you say? You could say hippie. He looks externally like a hippie. But you can also say he looks kind of crazy, right? Because he has ash on his body. He has dreadlocks, which generally is very considered not clean because you can't wash dreadlocks very easily. And then he's wearing animal skin and he's like hanging around in graveyard. So you can even be very unique out of the social system, but also be a Sampradaya head. So you have the one who started the social system. Then you have the Supreme Goddess is one of the Sampradaya heads. Then you have Shiva, who is very unique. And then you have 4 little boys, prepubescent boys. So they're also, so even children can be head of a Sampradaya. I think they're similar age, I don't know, to Madhu or to Bimal. So we can ask, how old is Madhu? 7. So I think the Kumara, the main pastime was when they were 7, right? I don't know, they were very young. Just like Prahlad Maharaj also, I was around, I don't know, 7 or something, when the Nishingadev Leela happened. Anybody remember? 5. So imagine, you can be Guru at age 5. So therefore, here is the final verse. Please read, somebody. The final verse. Yeah, please read everyone together. So this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is to be lost. Therefore, Bahunam, no, what's the other one? The most famous Hindu verse of the Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya. That every short amount of time, then Krishna will appear in the material universe, or the Guru will appear in the material world in order to re-establish this science, which can become lost. So there are many examples, just like we saw Shri, she did a very great job in teaching this knowledge. Rudra, he did a fantastic job. Lord Shiva, the 4 Kumaras did a great job in their time, and Lord Brahma did a great job in his time. So now we have received this particular tradition, going back 5,000 years, even all the way until now, which is through, who is it we have received this through? No, I mean in the modern age, in the last 60, 70 years, yeah? Srila Prabhupada, yeah. So thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So that concludes the whole topic, which is, if we go back, you can see our friends are there. That what is a guru and spiritual lineage. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So time is very tight, unfortunately, but I don't know if we should take question or not, because it's a little bit over time. So what do you think? Just one question, because otherwise everyone will be too tired. Yeah? Yeah. Sorry?
Youth, if anyone of them.
Yeah, anyone has any question regarding this? I was going to write actually some interesting questions, controversial ones, but then it gets into too much, so it's better just to do it on another class. Like about Diksha lineage, there's different things you can talk about different types of initiation. Do you need initiation or is Guru enough? There's so many questions you can ask.
I had a question, but I don't think it's related to this topic. It's mostly related to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I've heard that in Srimad Bhagavatam it's written that the earth is flat. So is that true? Because like it's confusing to me because the astronauts made pictures from the moon and it's like round, and people tell me that maybe it's a theory that the earth is round and maybe they just, made a photo of a fake thing and they sent it to us saying that the earth is round or something. So can you please?
Yeah. So I'm not a very expert on cosmology. There are certain things in Bhagavatam, for me, is very hard. Another one is time. To remember how many years Brahma came, how many exact years Lord Ram came, what is a Manvant. There are so many things. Bhagavatam has so many topics. So cosmology I'm not expert in, but I'm familiar with this question, so I can give you the basic answer, which is enough for your question anyway, which is that the Srimad Bhagavatam does not describe this particular earth. Srimad Bhagavatam is describing Bhumandala, which is something very different to what we experience, because we actually don't experience the full reality. For instance, say you're colorblind, can you experience full reality? No, right? Or if you have children, for instance, when I was in school, there was a particular sound which we put and only children could hear it. So it was a great way to really disturb the kids, but the teacher can't hear it. So we put a particular frequency on our phone. This was very popular in England. And then it's like beep, but only children can hear it, like under age 16. So the teacher's like, why is everyone complaining? There's no sound. And then everyone's like, there is a sound. It's really disturbing me. It's very loud. But the teacher cannot hear it. So then he can't find out where the sound is coming from. And it's such a subtle beep that it's hard to find where in the room it's coming from. So our senses are very limited. And according to Bhagavatam cosmology, the Devas and many of the people, there's 17 planetary systems. So the ones who are in higher planetary systems, they have higher level of experience. That's like we can only experience 3 dimensions, right? But it's proven logically and also scientifically that there can be more than 3 dimensions, but we cannot understand it. We can draw it on paper, we can explain it, but we can never conceive it in our brain. So the Bhagavatam cosmology is appearing from the point of view of the Devatas. So they can actually experience the full Bhumandala. So that Bhumandala is a plane. It's not exactly flat, but it's a plane. But for instance, from the Himalayas, you can actually go to the next loka. But only great yogis or demigods can do that. So it's just like if you have 4 dimensions, so you have 3 dots, right? X, Y, and Z. If you add one more dot, then to get to Y, you don't have to go from one side to the other. You can actually go through another dimension. So instead of walking from here to here, you have another axis there. You walk there, and then you immediately get there. It's like sometimes you hear the yogis, they enter in Prayag, and then they come out in another place, like in Mayapur. So when you have multi-dimensional reality, then actually you experience the universe in a different way. So Bhagavatam is not teaching the cosmology for humans, it's teaching the full picture of the material cosmology. Humans, we only access a limited amount. And the lower planets you get, your sensory experience gets even less and less refined. So therefore, they even understand even less about the universe physically. So Prabhupada gives the example, if you have a bull, and you tie a rope from the neck of the bull to the post, then the bull can walk around in a circle, right? But because he's limited by the particular rope, he can only experience things which are connected to that rope. He cannot go beyond that. So in the same way, Bhagavatam cosmology explains things which are beyond that rope, which is the Manushya Janma, the human birth, which is called Manushya. We do not have full experience. We only can experience 3 dimensions. So therefore, Bhagavatam cosmology doesn't need to be compared to modern science because it's dealing with a different concept of reality. But at the same time, for instance, most of the ancient maths comes from the Vedic tradition, right? Sometimes they say it comes from Arabic numerals, but it's already been proven by historians. There's one famous one in the UK, William Dalrymple. So he explains, actually, it's just that Europe received the Arabic numerals from the Middle East, but the Middle East actually received it from the Vedic. So we have strong math history in the Vedic culture, and we also have books which describe human cosmology. So that book is most famously Surya Siddhanta. So that book explains that the earth is not flat. So therefore we do not believe in the cosmology of Abrahamic traditions that the world is flat, and if you keep going you may fall off or something like that. So to humans, just as a bull, say the bull is in a square field. So if he's tied to the pole, how does he experience the field? Circle, right? Because he only has a subset of reality. So therefore, in the same way, Surya Siddhanta is just explaining according to the human being in this world. Therefore, it's called a localized text. It's not a Sanatan text. Because demigods don't need to understand that. They understand the bigger picture. So for human beings, then we study Surya Siddhanta, and that we can correlate with modern science. And actually, it's very similar to modern science. So that's the answer. Does it satisfy you? Sorry?
So the earth is not flat?
Yeah, the earth for human beings in 3 dimensions is not flat. Yeah, according to Surya Siddhanta. But according to Bhagavatam, the earth, there's actually more dimensions you can go. So there's much more to see than what you can see through the 3-dimensional method. But you have to have a superior birth, superior body. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.